Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Manchester United legend Cristiano Ronaldo slams Erik ten Hag and his approach to taking Manchester United back to the top. He's also said he needs to listen to him, listen to other people within the football club to take Manchester United back to the top. Look, it ain't breaking news that Cristiano Ronaldo probably is Ten Hag out, but that's not what he's saying. He's saying that there's a lot being done at the club now and there's a lot of things that need to change. We will talk about that. Also, Ralf Rangnick has been speaking this week about Erik ten Hag and Manchester United and how he's been proven right. We've also got breaking news coming in today that Manchester United's debt has increased hugely. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Manchester United is saying that they are compliant with financial fair play, so there'll be no points deductions or anything like that, hopefully coming down the line. But £116 million in the void for Manchester United. We'll talk about that as well. And also potentially another appointment being made by Ineos in the revenue board area. Talk about that as well. Lots to get into on the show. Sorry for being a little bit late, by the way. I don't mean to be late. If I'm late, there's a reason for it. And a few technical problems tonight, which I suppose is going to happen. I forget that we do this live. We've been doing it for 10 years now. Not every show will always run smoothly, but it is frustrating when it doesn't. So apologies for that. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Okay, so before we get into all that, though, we are sponsored by Manscaped on the show, and I should have my goodies. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay, here it is. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the code TUS. This is going to be It's going to be a game changer in your midfield. Yes, it's for down there. It's precision engineering for your family jewels. The leaders in male grooming, Manscaped, are giving you a fantastic offer. And the leader of the pack is the new lawnmower. Look at that. It's got a new head on it there. Absolutely fantastic. You get a light, brilliant bit of kit and really will make a big difference down there for you. There's also the beard trimmer, which actually is for, it's got 11 different lengths on it. So if you like to keep a little bit of stubble like me, very, very good. And also they've got the handyman, which you can carry around with you. Just tidy it up or have a clean shave. It's all charged up and ready to go. You get your charger with it, delivered to your door worldwide for free. And you get 20% off anything you order with that code TUS. So check it out. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really appreciate Manscaped for getting involved as per usual. Check yours out. Not had a drink tonight. No, Stephen, weird question. I go out for a drink on a Friday night. Wow. Anyway, what are you conflicted about, says Mythic. Can we leave that for a little bit later? It's a great, great question. Well remembered. Mythic is a legend. I did mention it on the preview, and I will answer that question. Don't you worry about that. But let's start off with this quote from Cristiano Ronaldo. Some people have been a bit naughty today. Honestly, this shouldn't even be out. Leaves everybody in a difficult position when Fabrizio's tweeting it and everybody's tweeting it because somebody broke the embargo. So there is a big interview coming out with Cristiano Ronaldo tomorrow. The embargo is tomorrow morning. There will be a lot more quotes, which I've already seen, which we'll probably cover on the morning show. But some of them were let out. And being as Fabrizio has tweeted them, I think we've got every right to react to them tonight. There's a couple I want to talk about anyway, but there'll be a lot more coming out tomorrow. Basically, Cristiano Ronaldo says this: Manchester United, they need to rebuild everything, in my opinion. The coach, they say they cannot compete to win the league and the Champions League. Manchester United coach, you cannot say that you're not going to fight to win the league or the Champions League. You have to mentally say, listen, maybe we don't have the potential, but I cannot say that. We're going to try. You have to try. So look, Garnacho liked this on Instagram, by the way. So Garnacho's definitely on the bench at the weekend. I joke, but I didn't put Garnacho in my team, did I? I wonder why. I don't think Garnacho starts on Saturday anyway, but yeah, I mean, look, should Garnacho be liking these sort of things? Probably not, if I'm being completely honest, and I'm a big Garnacho fan. I just think at the end of the day, if anything can be perceived as being negative towards your football club, stay out of it. But he loves Cristiano Ronaldo, doesn't he? Probably loves Ronaldo more than Man United, I don't know. But bottom line is, Ronaldo has said it, and I am a massive Cristiano Ronaldo fan, and I also don't want Ten Hag to be sacked. And you can be. I don't need to. In life, I am not going to be forced to choose between two things that I like because they want me to go one way or the other. I'm not going to do it. I can respect both. It's the same with Roy Keane and Sir Alex Ferguson. So Cristiano Ronaldo is an absolute Manchester United legend. When he says that they need to rebuild everything and that the coach shouldn't be saying that they cannot compete to win the league and the Champions League, I get it. I agree with it. I think it's very interesting what he said about Van Nistelrooy as well, and we'll talk about that next. But honestly, I don't actually know what the problem is with what he's saying, and what the problem is with what Ten Hag was saying. When you're the manager of a football club, then you've got different needs, desires, and voices in your ear than what Cristiano Ronaldo's got. It's very, very different. And I think that when you look at Ronaldo, he doesn't want to hear as a player that we can't compete for the Champions League and the Premier League, because he wants to compete for the Champions League and the Premier League. So Cristiano Ronaldo is never going to like it when he's at Man United and he hears a coach say we can't compete for the Champions League and the Premier League. And yet, we all know at that time we couldn't compete for the Champions League and the Premier League. So Ronaldo is an elite mentality, probably one of the greatest there's ever been, and he works on nothing is impossible, I want to be the best. If he's at a football club where they're saying we can't compete with Man City, we can't compete for the Champions League, that doesn't do him any good. That just doesn't do that type of personality any good. Cristiano Ronaldo operates on I can do anything. Cristiano Ronaldo has built a career on I can do anything. So he is not going to react well to that, what he sees as negativity. I agree with Ronaldo on that. On the other hand, I also agree when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Jose Mourinho says finishing second for me is the biggest achievement of my career with this Man United side, basically because it can't win the league. I agree with Ten Hag when he says we can't play the way I want to play with this team. We can't compete for the Premier League at the moment. It's honest. It's absolutely honest. And if he said we're going to win the league, he'd be on the latest call-in or on the back of the papers. So there are different things pulling in different directions, and both people can be right. Ronaldo's perception is right to him, and I agree that that's the standards we should set. But when Ten Hag says we can't win the Champions League or the Premier League, we've got to be in the bloody Champions League for a start, which we don't always qualify for, and we haven't done over the last 10 years. So I sort of agree with both. I don't think it's a massive problem. And also, let's not forget, there is no love lost between Cristiano Ronaldo and Erik Ten Hag. He could say a lot worse. So it's not that it's not big news. It's just not that it's not surprising news to me. And I was searching back as well. And I was having a bit of a laugh, actually, because I wasn't sat there laughing to myself. That's a bit weird. But I was sat there thinking about, well, I wasn't sat there. I was lying down. I was in the bath. And I was thinking about the summer that Cristiano Ronaldo left. Well, he didn't leave in the summer, did he? It was very soon after the summer. And I was laughing because I was thinking, you know what, tonight I can imagine the chat's going to be divided. There'll be Ronaldo lovers, there'll be Ten Hag haters, and then there might be some people like me who like them both. But I also remember 2 years ago in that summer where I wanted Ten Hag to do well, but I liked Ronaldo. And I had people telling me in this community that Ronaldo's washed. Ronaldo's finished under Ten Hag. He'll get rid of him because he can't press from the front. And it was actually weird because I was remembering that tonight, and I was like, I remember adamantly saying that Ten Hag and Ronaldo could work together, that Ten Hag respected Ronaldo and Ronaldo could still be valuable for us, because I didn't want Ronaldo to go. And I remember a lot of people, and if I remember correctly, I think people like Gary Neville were saying it as well. I remember a lot of people saying there's no future for Cristiano Ronaldo under Erik Ten Hag because he doesn't press from the front. He's not mobile enough. And lo and behold, that ended up being true. But 2 years later, it's now a different story that, all those people that said it was right to get rid of Ronaldo because he wasn't the right type of forward, people seem to have forgotten that and are now going, well, Ten Hag was wrong. Whereas I specifically remember being in the minority against the majority who were saying Ronaldo needs to go. He doesn't suit the way we want to play, because Ten Hag was brand new at that time. So look, shifts, evidence, etc. I understand that. I think it was very sad the way Cristiano Ronaldo left the football club, and I think the interview with Piers Morgan was a bad mistake. But at that point, everything had broken down anyway. We'd already seen him walking off down to the tunnel, which was still one of the most incredible things I think we've seen in the last 10 years. But I don't really see this as an opening up of the wounds. I really, really don't. I see that this is an observation in an interview for a YouTube channel that is there to generate conversation, and he is not attached to Manchester United anymore. I mean, he always says that Manchester United are my focus, and I love Manchester United. So I think the way that he's looking at the football club now is that it's basically saying, listen to what we've got to say. And he also said this, Fabrizio has tweeted this out as well. If Ten Hag listens to Ruud van Nistelrooy, then maybe he can help. He knows the club, and the club should listen to the guys who were there. Rio, Roy Keane, Scholes, Gary Neville, Sir Alex Ferguson. You cannot rebuild a club without knowledge. So he's saying that, having someone like Ruud van Nistelrooy at the football club will be a big help to Ten Hag, and he should listen to him because Ruud van Nistelrooy's been there before. Now, again, I sort of find myself agreeing but disagreeing. Or, Ruud van Nistelrooy has scored goals for Manchester United and did very well at PSV in that year. So there is a really good synergy there as far as I'm concerned. But I actually disagree that Ten Hag should be listening to Rio Ferdinand about how to rebuild Man United, or Gary Neville, or Sir Alex Ferguson. I don't think he should be, because they're in the past. They haven't shown a CV in the last 10 years that they can achieve anything. Ruud van Nistelrooy went to PSV and did very well, and has scored goals for Man United. I think you've got to have both those things. I don't think you can just be an ex-United player who won trophies before and the current manager has to listen to them. I think that's ridiculous. I think there are things that can be learnt from the past, but what I like about Van Nistelrooy is he actually has a bit of a CV in the modern game. What he did with PSV as their manager was very relevant in the modern game. And obviously, he's got the history of being a player at Manchester United. I don't think Erik Ten Hag should be bringing up Rio or Gary and saying, what do I do? I think that would be absolutely terrifying. Is Cristiano not aware of what Gary Neville did to Valencia? And what's Rio? He's just sat on TNT and BT talking about sports, saying give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a contract. I think this ex-player obsession only works. I liked what Nicky Butt was doing at the football club as head of development. I liked that sort of thing. These people don't know better than what's going on now. They have some level of experience and knowledge, but it's got to be relevant in the now. Liverpool made this mistake when I was a kid. Kenny Dalglish left and Liverpool focused for the next, what felt like 30 years, on living in the past. Then they brought a new guy in called Jurgen Klopp. And I don't remember Jurgen Klopp bringing up Ian Rush or John Barnes or John Aldridge or Peter Beardsley to make that club great again. He came in with a modern focus, respectful of Liverpool's origins and values, and rebuilt that football club. So I don't think that Cristiano is actually correct on that. You can't just live on the fact that you're a legend of Man United and everyone should listen to every legend that was at the football club. What we need here is the structure around the football club. And I like what Van Nistelrooy has brought into the football club because he has coached in the modern game and he knows that football club. And look, some footballers are simpletons. And if Ruud van Nistelrooy is training them on very well, Ruud van Nistelrooy can say to those players, hold on a minute. I don't know why you're being a big time Charlie speaking to your fucking agent. I've scored goals for this football club. I've won trophies for this football club. I've won Premier Leagues. I've played for Real Madrid. What the fuck have you done? And that's where it becomes important to me. But there'd be no point in Van Nistelrooy. Well, there's no point Gary Neville walking onto Carrington football pitch tomorrow and saying to, the defenders, hey, listen up, lads. Look at me Premier League trophies. Come on. Shine, Manchester. We're Manchester United. Fucking go for it. Because they're all going to go, look what you did at Valencia, mate. So I think that you've got to get that fusion in the modern game. You've got to know about the modern game. And if you've got a bit of history to the club as well, that's why I think it was working well with Nicky Butt. And that's why I think it'll work well with Van Nistelrooy. What do you want me to poll? A lot of people are saying poll. I don't know what we polling. I don't know what we're polling. So yeah, if somebody can stop saying poll and just tell me what we're meant to be polling here, then happily to do it. But I don't know what I'm meant to be polling. Obsessed with the past, time to look forward, says Richard. Look, I've always been somebody that's very against that. I didn't like it when Qatar were talking about it. I didn't like it when Ineos were talking about it. For me, it's really weak. It's a weak way to accommodate stupid fans, where you go, we're going to get all these ex-players involved, and everyone goes, yeah, and it's like then, but then I don't think United fans work like that anymore. I mean, there's this guy that we're apparently bringing in. I forget his name. What's his name? Someone in the chat will know. He's like revenue marketing guy at PSG, great reputation, and we're bringing him in apparently. I mean, he's never played for Man United before. Great. He's got a great reputation in the industry for, you know, sort of chief revenue officer or something like that to help United, you know, expand their revenue streams. Barada's a very, very good CEO. Armstrong's his name, yes. So, look, is he an ex-player that played for Manchester United? Is Dan Ashworth a player that played for Man United? Is Jason Wilcox a player that played for Manchester United? Does Favell play for Manchester United? I want best in class. If best in class happens to have managed PSV and played for Man United, get him to Manchester United. But I don't want just ex-players. We're not doing a sacking poll. No, I'm not doing a sacking poll. So forget that. It's got no relevance to the show we're doing tonight. So I actually thought it was something to do with what we're talking about. So no, there won't be a sacking poll. That guy Beto 90. Look, I don't want to talk about Ten Hag in or out. I'm sorry, I set the show. There's plenty to talk about. We're talking about Ronaldo. We're talking about what Rangnick said. We're going to tell you. You know, we'll go through all the topical stuff. But I'm not doing another show. It's not about not being democratic. I'm not doing a show on Ten Hag being sacked. There's plenty of people out still shouting about that for 2 weeks. Go and watch their channels. Happy days. You go and talk about that. I'm bored to death of talking about Ten Hag in or out. I'm not doing a poll on it, and I'm not talking about it in that sense because there's a lot more stuff to talk about. And if you want to talk about that, I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned that we've built a community where we talk about topical things and you want to go back and talk about Ten Hag in or out. I'm hosting this show. You know, I'm hosting it. It's like, I don't do it for a laugh. I do it because I do it out of enjoyment. I don't find any enjoyment in talking for the millionth time about whether Ten Hag should be sacked or not. I'm not saying he's not going to be sacked, but I've just wasted 2 minutes talking about something. I just find it really boring. And it doesn't add anything. It really doesn't add anything. Anyway, let me carry on. Armstrong is the guy, best in class. I think that's really important. Richard says, obsessed with the past, time to look forward. Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much for your comment there. Look, you can learn a lot from the past. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But I think you've also got to look at the best as well. Hope you're well. Off topic. Right. Oh, God. We've got right gremlins in the system today. Sick with Eric Ten Hag in and out. Move on, guys. Mate, we'll be talking about it again at the weekend. You've only got to wait 48 hours. I think Eric Ten Hag meant that we couldn't compete in the next 3 years when he was there, which I feel is practical. Well, that's exactly what he was saying, Abhijit. Exactly what he was saying. Mark, hope you're well. Off topic, my dad died of pancreatic cancer last week, and United stand means a lot to me, and watching you gets me through, says Dylan. Dylan, I'm really sad to hear that, and thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure there'll be a lot of love in the chat for you about that. Very, very sad. Obviously, also very, very recent news. I'm glad that, as always, that the community can give you some escapism and comfort at this difficult time. And obviously, thoughts with you and your family. Horrible news there. And I hope you're doing well, mate. Yeah, there's not a lot more I can say, is there really? Yeah, sad news. I want to talk about what Rangnick said as well, but let me just whiz through some of these comments here. Armstrong, obsessed with the past. Oh, God, he's so playing up to. I'm really sorry. At least it's not dropping out because it's so slow for me today. Canacho liked the post. Clearly, players don't rate Ten Hag, as United won. Mate, you know what? I'm a massive fan of Garnacho, and Garnacho should be starting for Manchester United. And look, I'm a massive fan of Luke Shaw. I don't like what he did in the summer. But Garnacho liked one of my posts when he was subbed off last season. And I didn't really massively agree with it, even though, it brought me a load of shit as well. I tweet stuff because I don't play for Manchester United. I'm just a fan who can have an opinion. But liking posts of Cristiano Ronaldo from Garnacho isn't that deep because he loves Cristiano Ronaldo. But I think what it demonstrates is that Manchester United really don't have much control over their players. I think that's just the modern game. And this is why you need to recruit players that are just focused on their football and being professional. Now, Garnacho's 19, but so's Kobe Mainoo, and I don't think Kobe Mainoo is going to be liking those sort of posts. I just think if you're not happy, put a transfer request in. If you are happy, just be careful with what you're doing, because it just brings unneeded scrutiny. And yes, it's just a young lad, living the world and loving the world and getting involved. And that's what I think it is. But obviously there will be people who jump on that. And the last thing I want is for Garnacho to be getting people in the fan base who don't like him. And I just think, at the end of the day, if you aren't happy, then you leave the football club, don't you? But I don't think that's the case. I just think it's a young player liking a post from Cristiano Ronaldo because it's his idol. Mostly I'm Ten Hag in, but I just want my club to be at the top and I don't see a way, says Mantan. Sir Jim Radcliffe impression on the start of the season, says Thomas. And Mythic, we will talk about what I'm conflicted about. Don't worry about that. Let's go, Mr. Goldbridge. Ollie was an ex-player coach. How did that go, says John. And do you think the Leicester manager said we can't win the Premier League the year they won it? I disagree with Ten Hag here, says Steve. Thank you very much. We've tried sacking managers, says Cap, with no result. We should try backing one for once. Plastic fans with no patience, just like the media, says Cap. No. This is where I appreciate it, Cap, and I appreciate your passion, but I don't want to see that. I don't agree with the vile name calling of Ten Hag, etc. But I can't argue with some people who are Ten Hag out. There is evidence to make a strong prediction that this might not be the right guy. I feel the other way, but I can understand the Ten Hag out movement. We've lost 2 of our first 3 games. Last season was a shit show, rescued by the FA Cup with a lot of mitigating circumstances. This season, there are still mitigating circumstances in relation to getting players in late, injuries again. But I feel now is the time to deliver and get this season going, because we just really haven't got much more room for manoeuvrement. So when I say I can't be asked to talk about Ten Hag in or out, it's because it's been pretty much constant for a week and a half, and it's going to kick off again on Saturday afternoon, one way or another. So a little bit of respite and a little bit of different top conversation is welcome. It's not like it's the first time Garnacho's liked to post versus Ten Hag as United won. Look, I really like Garnacho and I'll defend him as a player because I really, really like him. But what I won't say is okay is players, on social media bringing things onto themselves that they don't need to do. Now that, who knows whether he liked it as well. Remember, it's not necessarily him sat on his Instagram. But look, what people forget is as well, is that people like to take bits of information that suits what they want. As I said, Cristiano Ronaldo, when he left Man United that summer, there was a lot of people, it's only 2 years ago as well, so don't pretend you can't remember 99, it was 2 years ago. There was a lot of people saying that Ronaldo should go because he doesn't suit the way we want to play. He's too slow. And I remember saying he scored 18 goals in a shit Manchester United side. 18 Premier League goals in a shit Man United side, and you want to get rid of him. And I was doing polls on that, and we were getting 50-50. 50-50 on people saying Ronaldo needed to go, and I just couldn't understand it. I was like, you don't get rid of that type of a player. And then there was stuff coming out about how Ronaldo, was there training like he wants to train, moaning about the facilities, saying that he's trying to help the younger players, but they didn't want to listen. Specifically, it was pretty much established that it was people like Rashford and Sancho and a few others that just didn't have the same attitude that Ronaldo had. So, people forget about that. Ronaldo might not like Ten Hag, but he also didn't like a lot of things at Man United. He didn't like a lot of the players. He didn't like a lot of the facilities. It wasn't exclusive to Ten Hag. He mentioned a lot of the younger players that weren't interested in working hard. Now, obviously, he didn't include all of them in that because he was very glowing about people like Dalot. But you can go back and you can read those comments. So don't just pick what Ronaldo said to suit you, because Ronaldo said stuff about a lot of players that are still at this football club as well. And as somebody said there in the chat, Rated R says he was always right. Well, I don't think Ronaldo's always right. I don't think anybody's always right. He might be your idol. He's an absolute legend to me. But I don't think anybody's always right. But I think he got a lot right. I definitely think he got a lot right. I hated the fact that he sat down and did an interview with Piers Morgan because Piers Morgan's a prat. But there were aspects of that interview that were very, very interesting. But what people forget is that was Erik ten Hag's first season. He'd literally been in the job weeks. It put us in a really difficult position. You can look back on that interview with hindsight now and you can firmly drop on Ronaldo's side. But when you actually go back 2 years ago, a lot of people in our fan base wanted Ronaldo out. They flip-flopped and pretended they didn't want that because now they want Ten Hag out. But I remember, I've got the receipts. I can go back to those shows. I can look at the comments. Backing Ronaldo was the minority choice at that time. I'm telling you now. I'm not talking about the Piers Morgan interview. I'm talking about in the summer. I remember the press were on Ronaldo. I remember one of his children passed away, didn't they? And there was all sorts of accusations about why he didn't go on the tour. It was a horrible time. And as somebody that's a massive fan of Ronaldo, I remember sticking up for him, and I remember a lot of people not sticking up for him. But what I will say is, Ten Hag had only been in the job for a few weeks, and he's got Ronaldo walking off down the touchline. It was a bad start for Erik ten Hag, and it was a bad end for Cristiano Ronaldo, but it was only the start of Ten Hag's career at Manchester United. And what people forget is we ended up winning the Carabao Cup and finishing third. So at that time, people were like, well, Ten Hag was right to get rid of Ronaldo. Obviously, last season doesn't reflect so well, but Ronaldo would have been 39 in the last season. So I think Cristiano Ronaldo knows a lot about being successful. And I think that when Cristiano Ronaldo retires, you'd be foolish not to try and get him involved in your sport brand, whatever it is, because he is not as talented as Messi. But for me, I would take prime Ronaldo in my team over prime Messi. A lot of people would disagree with me about that, but I just think I will always take the person who's worked the hardest but didn't have the talent that the most talented person has to compete with that person. What Ronaldo's achieved is just incredible. And if you could bottle that mentality and work rate, then you're onto something very, very special. And I think Messi's absolutely incredible. I don't do the whole Messi versus Ronaldo thing. I just say I would take Ronaldo at his prime in my team over Messi if I had to choose. But I'm biased because I'm a Man United fan as well. But I just think Ronaldo speaks a lot of sense about the Manchester United situation. But if I'm being completely honest, and I probably was a bit deluded 2 years ago, Cristiano Ronaldo, at the age he wasn't the solution. What he said and what he spoke about was correct, but as a player, he wasn't the solution because he just wasn't the player he was anymore. If we'd have had Ronaldo at 31, very different story. But the parting of the ways was sad. What he said, a lot of it was true, but we had to move on. We had to move on. And I hope he will be involved in the club at some point in the future. But as I said, I don't really find anything shocking about what he said, really, because what he's saying is pretty much standard as what I would expect him to say. What I did find interesting this week as well, though, was I need to tell you what I'm conflicted about as well. Did you hear what Ralf Rangnick said this season as well? Everybody's coming out from the past. So Ralf Rangnick, a few months before Ronaldo, obviously we were a big fan of Rangnick on this channel. I think the media bullied him. 100%. You witnessed it as much as I did. They were bloody vile to him. They took the piss out of him from day one. And Rangnick really always makes me laugh when the media try and make out that it was the fans that ridiculed Rangnick. I never heard a Man United fan ridicule Rangnick. I remember doing his press conferences and they were some of the best press conferences I've ever listened to. He was absolutely brilliant. We were getting battered every week and we were shit. But you knew this guy was just being hung out to dry and was actually saying, the reason we're getting battered is because they're shit with a bad attitude and we need open heart surgery. Well, he was talking about it this week because he's still the Austrian manager. And this is what he has to say. He said, speaking in July, Ten Hag admitted that he agreed with Rangnick's reset. Rangnick was absolutely right, says Ten Hag. We've been working very hard on that. high standards for 2 years, but he said it just right. It's a thorough, very complex operation. And of course, Rangnick had said for sure strong leadership is needed. This is something that not one single person as a manager can do. In all areas, you've got to have top people and they have to work together in a very close, reliable way. So as we know, Ralf Rangnick spoke about open heart surgery before Ten Hag came into the club, and he spoke about one person can't do it. You need this best-in-class structure where everybody's working together very closely for one goal, but they're also very competent people. Well, Ten Hag spoke about this in July, and Rangnick said this week. He said, look, I probably made that statement when the season was almost over 2 years ago. It's probably only 2 or 3 weeks since Erik Ten Hag was asked the same thing. Then he said that I was right in my analysis. I don't know how many players they've signed since, but it looks like I was right. And look, there won't be many people talking about what Ralf Rangnick said this week, but I just think he was massively disrespected by the media in this country. And I think Man United fans always appreciated what he said. And Rangnick was right. And it wasn't Man United fans who started the horrible statement of wreck it Ralph. And it's just funny, isn't it? You know, it's just funny how many morons there are who, you know, actually profess to be top level journalists or ex-players or whatever, who absolutely went in on Rangnick. And here we are 2 years later, and exactly what he said is happening. And you do find yourself, when you listen to what Ronaldo was saying and you listen to what Rangnick was saying, you do find yourself going, why the fuck did it take 2 years for what people were saying 2 years ago to happen? And more importantly, why the fuck did we get rid of Ralf Rangnick? I mean, I think that, to me, is singularly one of the biggest things that hurt us, because that last, was it March and April we had Rangnick, and then May Ten Hag came in. And you look at what Rangnick was saying in the March and the April, and he was talking about open heart surgery. He clearly fell out with a lot of the players because he'd said it how it was. He clearly fell out with probably Murta and Arnold, if we're being honest. And therefore, at that moment, Rangnick was absolutely perfect because he'd fallen out with all the people that needed to go. And if you could have parachuted Sir Jim Radcliffe in at that point and Sir David Brailsford in at that point, we'd be 2 years ahead of where we were with Rangnick and Ten Hag, and no Murta, no Arnold, and a load of the shit would be gone. And some of that shit's still here now. Some of the people that Rangnick had a problem with, some of the players are still here now. So you look at that and you sort of go, and again, this is where it gets really multifaceted, because there is no right answer here. You can't put your hat on anybody. I love Ronaldo. I really liked Rangnick, and I want Ten Hag to do well. But go back, look at the stories. I don't think Rangnick and Ronaldo got on. I really don't think they did. I don't think Ronaldo respected Rangnick at all. I don't think he did, remembering it. I might be wrong on that, but I think there was an issue between Ronaldo and Rangnick. There was always a story that Ten Hag didn't want to work with Rangnick as well, but Rangnick had already been got rid of by then, so it was a bit of a myth. But look, ideally, what should have happened is Rangnick should have gone up to Ashworth's role. Ten Hag should have worked with Rangnick, and then hopefully, you know, in my world, Ronaldo would have stayed as well. But we dropped the ball. We dropped the ball, didn't we? We absolutely dropped the ball. We got rid of Rangnick, kept Murta and Arnold, and took 2 years to do what Rangnick said needed to be done 2 years ago. We should have had that open heart surgery that very first summer. But yeah, it is what it is. And I think we are starting to move in the right direction now. But I think the reason I wanted to mention what Rangnick said is that a lot of people talk about open heart surgery, and we do need that. We still need to get rid of a lot of players, and we still need to bring some players in. But Rangnick was also the one who said, one person can't do this. You've got to build a structure around that manager where everybody's working together for a better thing. And, you know, some people seem to think that Sir Jim Radcliffe and Ineos have implemented that. Ralf Rangnick was talking about it 2 years ago. And actually, you lot were probably talking about it 5 years ago. It's not rocket science, but it's incredible. It's incredible, actually. It's incredible what happened with Ronaldo. It's a blur. Him coming back was incredible. And then the way he left was incredible. And it's almost, been forgotten in many ways, but because it was such a bad season, wasn't it? But it's also incredible to me that Ralph Rangnick came in after Solskjaer and walked out with a worse legacy than Solskjaer, even though he wasn't allowed to buy any players, he wasn't allowed to bring any coaches in, he had to work with the most toxic United side we've ever had. The media turned on him from day one. The people above him stabbed him in the back. The players stabbed him in the back. And we booted him out, and he was the one guy speaking the most sense in 10 years. A really, 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 really crazy situation. But I'm only grateful that actually 2 years on, we're starting to do what he said needed to be done. And I think I agree with AM United. I think a lot of the fans felt bad the way that Rangnick was treated. But it's good that he still gets mentioned, because I think he is respected by a lot of fans, if he's not respected by anybody else. But look, I do agree with Rangnick, quickly before we move on. Maybe as a coach, it wasn't right. I always wanted him to be the director of football or the sporting director. But then you look at the way Austria play, and I think, again, it just comes down to the fact that I've seen Austria play really good football, and he hasn't got good players. If Austria had Ollie Watkins, they'd probably hit the semi-finals of the Euros. They just don't have a quick person who can score goals in the final third. They're relying on people like Baumgartner and Sabitzer to score goals, and they're not really that type of a player. So the way he gets Austria to play is really, really good. And he gets Austria to play really good because they're technically good footballers who will give everything for that football club collectively. He couldn't get a tune out of United. Couldn't get us to play good football. We played well for half an hour. And this is what always makes me laugh about when people talk about Ten Hag and his style of play. Rangnick's got a style of play. Couldn't get a tune out of this lot. Couldn't get a tune out of them at all. There's a reason we can't get a tune out of these players, and the only way we will get a tune out of them is by gradually getting rid of them and bringing other players in. Kieran says, point, evidence, explanation. Thank you very much. Call Harry Lanyon, a Pratt, says 5 Cantonars. We've tried sacking managers with no result. We should try backing one for once as captain. Thank you very much. Austria have been pants in the Nations League, says Marcus. Yeah, but I don't live life like that, mate. I know some of you do. But like Wolfwall says, with the players he's got, Austria plays good football. The Nations League's 2 games. He qualified for the Euros, and they were one of the best teams in it. I don't say a manager is shit after 1 or 2 games, and I don't say a player's shit after 1 or 2 games. I don't play that game. I know there is this TikTok environment now where if you're not good for 20 seconds, you're shit. But I think that I think he's done a very good job at Austria, and. But as I said, whether he's a coach or not is up for debate. I think as a strategist, I think he would have been brilliant at Manchester United. But we move on. I did say, I'm going to do it now because I will forget. I was doing the preview earlier, and I said that I was conflicted, but I didn't really have time to talk about it because basically it was about, in the preview, we were talking about how Ten Hag, for me, needs to do 5 or 6 things on Saturday. It's not just about winning. We must win, but there are 5 or 6 things else he needs to do. And I support Ten Hag, and I want him to do well because I think we need continuity. We need stability. We need calm. Every 3 years, we're going through this cycle of sacking a manager before Christmas and then another rebuild. And it damages more every time we do it. It's like whacking a wall with a chisel. It leaves damage every time you do it. And eventually, that wall's going to crumble and fall down to nothing. We can't just keep going round in this cycle. It has to stop. And I understand there are people out there who passionately want to sack the manager. But my question is always, what are you doing next? Because you know as well as I do, you're intelligent people. What are you doing next? Because we don't have the money to do another round of 2, 3, 4, 500 million pounds on another manager. We just don't have that situation. And what do you do with all the players that are very much Ten Hag players? We struggle to sell players and we're in huge debt. I mean, I don't know whether you saw this today. Man United report net loss of 113 million for 23-24. So Man United have reported that loss in the year to the 30th of June from their latest accounts. It follows losses of 28.7 million in 22-23 and 115 million in 21-22. which takes their total losses over the past 5 years to over £370 million. Despite that, United are not expected to breach the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules because not all spending goes against their calculations and clubs can claim allowances from add-ons or add-backs. But under Premier League rules, clubs cannot lose more than 105 million over a 3-year period, and Everton and Forest receive points deductions for being in breach. Well, we've done 370 million over that 3-year period. We're not the limit's 105. We've hit 370. As I say, there are add-backs where you can avoid going over that, and we're not expected to go over that. But it does just give you a stark warning that Man United lost £113 million last year. Lost. It's a loss. We are not in a position financially, and I think some people think that a lick of paint makes a rotten door brand new. Ineos are coming in. They've given it a lick of paint, and now they've got to work on rebuilding that door. We are still in a very precarious position. I saw somebody say today, oh, look at this now. Ineos are taking more control because they're going to bring this Armstrong in. He's an employee. An employee to work on the board doesn't give them another 10% of a Glazer stake that's over 50%. We're still owned by the Glazers. So Jim only owns 28%. We've still got massive debt. And we're still a club that's making a lot of losses. And yet we've still got fans going, let's sack a manager. Let's throw another 30 million at replacing a manager and paying Ten Hag off. And let's spend a load of new money on the manager. PSR equals please sell Rashford, says Solid Blake. That's naughty. So, look, I think we're in an okay position as a football club. But we 100% need stability. We 100% need calm and continuity. It's the most important thing to take us back. And Sir Jim Radcliffe would admit it. Well, you're right, Mark. There's just no way. You can't run a business on loss. And at the end of the day, we need profit. And sacking Eric and replacing Eric, it's more loss. We've already had to sack people from the football club. And I don't want to see that happen again. We're building a stadium. And we don't know how we're going to pay for that. We need success. That's what we need. And we do, 100%. And I get it. And this is where I say I'm conflicted. I get, despite what I've just said, every part of me wants this to work in its current guise, with its current set of signings, its current manager and coaching staff. Every part of me wants it to work because this is Ineos's first plan A. And if plan A fails spectacularly, their new ownership model, before they've even got started, they're damaged goods. So this, for me, has to work. Remember, this is Ineos's first go at this, and we need it to work. Financially, we need it to work. We are precarious when it comes to our financial situation. Abundantly clear debt, abundantly clear loss, abundantly clear we can't spend loads of money to get out of this problem. So therefore, it's abundantly clear to me that we need this current situation to reap rewards. Otherwise, we're going to really struggle to find the money to start another project. So everything about stability and everything really motivates me. And this is why when I see the media piling onto De Ligt or the media trying to get the manager sacked for their own personal benefit, it makes me angry because this is our club. This is our football club. It's not a play toy. You know, you're playing with the future of our football club when you're trying to undermine a new signing or get a manager sacked, because that's going to cost us money. That's going to send us back down again. We need to win. We need to stick with what we've got. It needs to work. But then the confliction comes in because I'm also a realist, and I'm like, this might not work. We might be forced to do what I don't want to do. We might be forced to break the wheel again. We might be forced to start the cycle again because it's a results business and we've all got eyes and we can all see that whilst we need this period of sustainability and calm and continuity, because if this current system works, profit will come in. We won't be spending as much. But if it falls apart, then it's going to cost a lot of money to try again. But I am conflicted because as much as I want Ten Hag to do well, I also look at the weekends and know at 3 o'clock on Saturday, I can't tell you how I'm going to feel. I can tell you how I want to feel. I want to be 6-0 winners, Marcus Rashford hat-trick, Agate brilliant debut, De Ligt and Martinez playing it out from the back, Anana making worldies. I want that 6-0. I want that positivity. Let's use this as a little step forward to build. Yeah, I want that. But I also know that it could be 3 o'clock on Saturday. We've lost 1-0 to Southampton, played absolutely shit again. And you're like, oh my God, the whole world's coming down again. So that confliction I'm talking about is that, yes, I am backing Ten Hag. And yes, I am backing this team. And yes, I do want us to do well. But most of that is coming from an absolute need for it to happen. As a United fan, I need this to happen because I know it's the best path for the football club and its future. And then if it all comes crashing down again, God knows what's happening next. So I am conflicted. And I'm also in a situation where, if I'm being completely honest with you, after the Brighton game, I was absolutely fuming. You saw, I was fuming for days. I couldn't move past that Brighton game. Don't understand why he subbed Bruno off. Don't understand why he started Maguire. I don't understand why he brought McTominay on for the last 10 minutes and was selling him in a couple of days. I don't understand, a lot of things about that game. And a lot of it fell on Ten Hag. The Liverpool game, again, I don't really understand certain selections again. So I am conflicted, yeah, because as much as I want it to work, I'm also eyes wide open to some things are just not working. So Saturday's massive. It's absolutely massive. Which is why when I was doing the preview, I chose not to really focus in on whether Rashford starts or not. And I read the comments, and a lot of people did. And you can tell by the liked comments how many people want Rashford to be dropped. But this is where I'm conflicted, and this is what I mean. I have chosen that I want United to win on Saturday. I have chosen that the best thing for Manchester United is that we start winning games. And therefore, I have to want to win on Saturday, which I do. But I also have to go into it with everything. I can't take negativity into it. I can't. And what that means is, if he picks Marcus Rashford on the left, even though I want Garnacho to play, I can't start going, what's he doing? I've got to go into it believing it. Even if I'm kidding myself, I have to. Because I think we're at that point now where you either are behind this project or you're not. And if you're not, that's fine, but I am. So I have to go with it. But I am conflicted because there's things in my head saying, but you don't agree with that. You don't agree with what he's done there. So that's what I mean by being conflicted. I think it's so important that this project works for a multitude of reasons, for Ineos, for the debt, to break the cycle, etc. And therefore, I can't go into that game on Southampton when the team drops going, I can't fucking believe this, I can't believe that, because winning has to work. So there's a lot of pressure on Ten Hag on Saturday. There is. And look, my biggest fear is that team drops. It's Maguire instead of De Ligt. It's Casemiro instead of Agate. It's, no Garnacho starting. And straight away, I'm sort of like going to have to take a deep breath and go, bury the confliction, just get behind the team. Because I just don't see what that does anymore. I really don't. The solution is simple. We need more gravel, says Al Descrito. Is it only Wednesday? International break is long, says Rub. Only Wednesday. I think it's going quite quick, mate. It's Thursday tomorrow. Press conference tomorrow afternoon. United should be suing journalists making false stories, says Mario Franco. Kieran says, great show tonight, but tragic that United have been bled like this and the Glazers are still here. Look, if somebody said that, I don't profess to be a financial expert. I don't understand how Manchester United have got losses of £370 million over the last 5 years, and yet you can only have losses of 105 million over a 3-year period, but we are compliant with FFP. I mean, Under Premier League rules, you cannot lose more than 105 million over a 3-year period, and yet we've lost 113 million in a year. But as I say, I don't think we're in any problem because I saw somebody say it today. I think it was Swedish Rumble was saying United can't say that they're FFP compliant and then not be FFP compliant because they've got shareholders. So you're lying to your shareholders. You're breaking the law. So we will be FFP compliant, but we have made a massive loss. There's no two ways about that. And remember, that's up to June the 30th. None of our new signings will be on the books for that yet. So none of the new signings will be on there for that yet. Yes. Hi, Mark. Just got back from my first time visiting England. It was wonderful to see Old Trafford. Here's my last £5. Have a drink on me. Cheers, mate. Laruk, you're a legend. I tell you who I haven't heard from. Laruk's a legend, but can we have a moment for Mojo? Mojo is one of the biggest legends in this community. Many of you have had memberships because of Mojo. He was telling us about how he was coming to watch Man United against Liverpool, and I've not heard from him since. An absolute legend of this community, and he was telling us about that trip to Man United Liverpool, and we've not heard from him since. So I just want to make that. I just want to drop that out there. Ranić for one last dance. Who says no? Says Dylan. I don't think we've got a place for Ranić at the football club anymore. I wouldn't bring Ranić back as a manager, Dylan. I really wouldn't. But I'd love him. I wish we'd kept him involved in the club. Put this towards something for yourself or Seb, says Daniel Sturtridge. He seems like a really good kid and wants to give something back to you for all you've done for me. Thanks, Daniel. You're such a legend. That's such a nice super chat. Thank you very much, mate. Really, really appreciate that. And I'll definitely make sure that I get something said from the shops. He'll be happy to spend it, don't worry. Rashi has won more trophies than Salah, so per Erik Ten Hag's logic is better and why he gets picked. Why is the trophy defence only for Erik Ten Hag, says Druv. One of the weirdest chats of the night, but there you go. Open that one up. This sunk cost mentality is wild, says SS Beast. And long contracts, small payments to be in with... yeah, I think we will be in line with FP, by the way. I don't think we need to worry about it at all. As many people are talking about the Snapdragon deal. Obviously, we already know a lot of these signings are being spread over a number of years, like Yoro. We will be FFP compliant because we can't not be. We will be. That's not what I would say is the point. The point is we're still a club in massive debt and we're still a club making massive losses and we're still a club having to make people redundant. Like, my point really is if and when Erik Ten Hag gets sacked, Erik Ten Hag gets sacked, the financial outlay for the new manager will be massive. We will have to bring a new manager in and they will want new signings. Of course, Ruud van Nistelrooy may not want new signings. He might be quite happy with what we've got. I don't know. And he may be the next manager. I don't know. But is Ruud van Nistelrooy best in class? What if Erik Ten Hag gets sacked and suddenly a really hipster manager wants the job? Do you go for Ruud van Nistelrooy or do you go for them? I'm not talking about Southgate. So there will be a financial outlay straight away. And all I'm saying is that if these signings from this summer don't work or Ten Hag doesn't work, it's going to cost a lot of money, again, to try and rebuild something. And financially, we're not in a very good position. I think our squad's in a good position. I think the foundations are stronger. I think we are building an elite structure that we actually have never had. Sir Alex Ferguson never had this. People talk about 10 years, but I remember Sir Alex Ferguson's last few years. And if you think some of our transfer windows over the last few years have been frustrating, as somebody that's been a veteran of Man United summer transfer windows, I mean, I remember when there wasn't a summer transfer window. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, we signed Andy Cole from Newcastle in January, but it wasn't the January transfer window. You could buy, I mean, this was amazing. It was great. You could buy a player during the season. People used to buy people during the season. So I've got many memories of Man United summer transfer windows and deals that did happen and didn't happen. I remember as being linked to Batistuta and Ronaldinho. So I'm a veteran of many summer transfer windows and transfer windows, as I'm sure many of you are as well. And under Sir Alex Ferguson, he never had a structure above him that was that good. He had good summer transfer windows, but I would say in his last 5 years, they were as frustrating as some of the bad ones that Mourinho had here. Like, you know, chasing all sorts of, you know. And then Sir Alex, because he's always been in tune with the Glazers, would come out and say, there's no value in the market. And you'd be like, we haven't got a bloody midfield. You don't have to play Cleverley and Anderson. And he'd still win the league with them, which was absolutely incredible. But the whole fan base knew that we needed bloody midfielders. And another summer would go by and we wouldn't buy one. It would be... So look, this is probably the first time in decades that we've had a proper structure be built around recruitment, which is very exciting. Because I think for most of the time we try and ignore recruitment. So look, there are some things that are working well. And Sir Jim Radcliffe is a great businessman, so hopefully the future is bright. Mojo has been stopped by the Powerpuff Girls, says Imrano. Ralph Wiggum says, did you miss me, Mark? Well, there is a name I do know. Thank you very much. Okay, we've overrun a little bit, but I was late tonight, so apologies for that one. We're back in the morning. We will certainly have more Ronaldo quotes for the morning show because the embargoed section is tomorrow. Agate starting thing dead tomorrow. I was speaking to somebody a couple of hours ago and they were like, I can't believe you've put Agate in the team and said that he's got to pick him. And I said, well, of course I have. He's got to pick him. Casemiro has to be dropped. And they were like, I just don't see it. Laptop manager ain't going to put Agate in. He's going to say, not played for the club before. He's travelled a long way. And I was saying, yeah, but the hypocrite, Martinez has travelled a long way. He'll start. And they were saying, no, he won't start him. And they said to me, actually, in the press conference tomorrow, I bet he'll get asked about it and he'll say he can't start. I was like, oh, fucking hell. You know, that's one of the things from the preview is getting a cross for straight away then, isn't it? Straight away. Anyway, I live in hope. Don't forget to check out Manscaped, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger, 20% off and free worldwide shipping exclusively for you, the United Stand viewer, with the code TUS. Fantastic product. But I live in hope that he will start, certainly. Absolute legends tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. Sorry I was a bit late, but as ever, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I know it's been a hard start to the season, you know. I don't think it really matters what opinion you have. I don't think anyone sat there smiling. That's one thing that definitely unites this fan base. It's been a difficult start to the season, and I don't think it's going to get any better. I really don't. I think there is a conflict, and I think some people have, you know, picked their side. And as much as I hope everyone wants us to win on Saturday, I don't think that will solve every problem. Certainly not. Take care. Stay safe wherever you are on that fence, and I will speak to you tomorrow morning. Thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you in a bit.